Cecil here. Cecil, you are on the air.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
We can.
Hey, thank you so much for calling back. Remind everybody who, didn't catch last week or whatever else, just what we talked about.
Yeah, you bet. So I've been dating a girl since December, and she is on a couple of medications that suppress libido. One of them is an acne medication called,
Accutane?
Accutane, that's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And then that has a bunch of side effects, which can include, depression. So to be on Accutane, you have to also take an antidepressant, or it's highly recommended. So she's on Prozac. So now she has 2 medications that suppress libido.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple months into our relationship, she started, I noticed that her, sexuality, her libido had reduced, and I was the only one initiating sex. And then she just kind of said that she wasn't, when I asked her about it, she said, yeah, she's not interested in sex. She feels like she doesn't need it. And then that turned into not wanting to do it. And so I called in last week to tell that story and get some advice. And the guys had some really good advice. And one of those suggestions was to see if she was interested in, some alternatives to intercourse to get through this time that she's going to be on this medication, because she's supposed to start getting off of it next month. So I did talk to her about it. A couple of days after I called in, one night on the couch, I just said, hey, since we're not having sex right now, because we had kind of agreed to just try to take it out of the picture until her libido comes back.
Okay.
And so I said, since we're not having sex right now, had she thought about any alternatives to intercourse, like oral sex or using her hands? And she said that she had thought about it, but that it was the same.
Yeah.
That she was worried that she wouldn't be into it. And I don't want her to feel forced or do something that she's not into. And so it didn't go anywhere. And so I'm still struggling with this. She lives with me, and got a month plus to go. I mean, I don't expect her libido to come back the day after she stops taking these pills, but I'm certainly looking forward to it coming back. And it's hard because I'm really attracted to her. She'll come in the bedroom half dressed after the shower. She sleeps naked, and I can't help but get turned on. And then I just get sad or kind of upset. I keep it to myself, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the update. I wish I had a better one.
Well, I hear that, and I definitely want to jump out of the way, having kind of spoken my piece last week, and give the ladies a chance. I did just want to slip in that you're right to expect that things aren't going to suddenly change, and even as we're talking about like an SSRI, Prozac, which tends to stay in the system for a pretty long time. Yeah. Even if we could magically remove all of that, libido and sexuality is not just a chemical thing. There is going to be some changes, or anytime there's a major shift in our body chemistry, that's going to have an effect that lasts beyond just the presence of those chemicals. So this is kind of a good opportunity to sort of reset the table and restart y'all's sexual relationship. That being said, let me totally give y'all the mic, and I'd love to hear what y'all have to say.
Well, I would say, one, do remember that this is not a forever thing. That it can and probably will change to some degree once she is off of the medication. Granted, we can't guarantee what that change will be and where you'll be by the end of it, but do look forward to that. And I do thank you for saying that you don't want her to feel forced or anything, because that is a very important component. Because pressure, a certain amount of pressure, whether the woman or man in the relationship, whatever the dynamic is, whether they eventually relent or not, it depends on how much pressure is there, and that can constitute a very sticky situation. Pressure is also a form of force, emotional pressure, I should say. With that being said, have you discussed with her the idea of just allowing you to masturbate in front of her or around her to have that sexual release, but without her having to actively take part?
Yeah, that was one of the suggestions. I left that out because I'm embarrassed to mention it. But yeah, the guy suggested that, like, you know, I didn't ask her if I could take pictures of her, but yeah, I mean, I would love to massage her body and pleasure myself. I would do that, but that was among the offerings, and she kind of made a blanket statement to all three of them that she wasn't. She was worried that she wouldn't be into it, and so she knows I'm interested in that, and apparently she's not.
Yeah, it seems like her, you know, not just her interest, but her sexuality itself is a little bit muted. I mean, the types of interest, I think is what I mean to say.
Right. Sarah, do you have any suggestions?
So yeah, first, I just want to sort of set down structure. So for people who, like you and me and most of us here are allosexual, people who have sexual attraction for other people, when we get into a relationship, when we get interested in someone, it tends to be combined. We have a combined attraction sexually for someone, a physical thing, and an emotional attachment to them. And those are actually separate things, but we tend to blend them together because that's kind of how we work. And so I'm wondering if some of your issue here is perhaps not just, hey, I want to get off and I think you're hot, but also just like, I don't know if I feel like the relationship is steady without this bond that we had. I don't know if is that something like what you might be experiencing? Because I just want to make sure that we're tackling the right issue.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely knows. Some of the first conversations we had, you know, I was feeling really bad about wanting her sexually and her not, you know, being able to reciprocate. I was feeling bad about desiring her sexually. So I read some articles about the importance of sex in a relationship, and I really identified with what they're saying. Like, I feel loved and desired, and I feel validation. I feel strong. It was all these things that I was like, yeah, that's what I feel when I have sex with my partner. And I've never been in a sexless relationship. So I definitely made it very clear that I was having difficulty and it was hard for me. And when we had that first talk, her reaction was, well, I can't do that right now. You know, maybe we shouldn't be together right now. And so then I didn't want to lose her over sex. And so I'm just kind of trying to get through it.
On that theme, let me ask you, if her libido never came back, if it was just gone, maybe she had to be on these drugs for the rest of her life and it just never came back, would you still want to be with her?
No, no.
Okay.
I know myself, and I'm a sexual person, and I can't. I know that I can't be in a long-term relationship without intimacy.
Gotcha. Okay. So you have a need, and it's not being fulfilled, and you're kind of just sort of waiting for it to be fulfilled again right now, basically. So you're in sort of a holding pattern.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best. As far as I know, I'm being a really good boyfriend. I even asked her the other day, like, "Hey, am I doing an okay job? Like, am I meeting your needs?" And she said yes. And you know, we really care about each other. But yeah, it's difficult. But I'm just trying to get through it with her.
I can speak from personal experience related to the medications shift in libido. And I will say that it doesn't, it can not only mute your libido, but it can completely mute your sexual desire, period.
Yeah.
And those are two very different things. And it can cause even the idea of sex or a sexual interaction to sound repulsive or to feel repulsive to you. So keeping in mind that not only might she have a lowered libido, these medications might actually be causing her to feel uncomfortable at the idea of any sexual interaction. So you want to be very...
That's really good to know.
Yeah, you want to be very careful with how you approach the subject with her. And it's very good if you two have a communication line going where she feels comfortable, you feel comfortable saying, well, how about this? And she feels comfortable saying no. I would stress that because you know that it is not a permanent situation, really, sorry, tough it out, bud. That's right now, that's the best advice that I personally can give, because any amount of sexual interaction may feel on her part forced or ugly or unwanted in any way.
Yeah, an unfortunate side effect of the side effect is that, you know, if you're in a relationship with someone and it's a sexual relationship and you're suddenly not doing it anymore, there's shame. There's a feeling of shame there. And so she might very well be feeling ashamed of not feeling for you in the way that she's used to. And so you have to be really gentle with her in that, because otherwise it's just going to, you know, flame that up.
Yeah, a lot of your responses made me wonder if she is perhaps interested in experimenting with some of these things, but is just really afraid of what would happen if it didn't go great.
I would be.
And yeah, I think that makes total human sense. I know that I've been on similar medications where I've been wondering to myself, man, if I'm not able to come, am I going to make my partner feel like I don't care, I don't want to be there? You know, and then it becomes this mad rush to try and have an orgasm, which feels very uncomfortable and unnatural.
Stressed.
And yeah, and that can make it, of course, further and further away and more difficult to achieve. So yeah, I would just echo everything that they're saying and remind you that as important as sex is and as important as this is to y'all's relationship, if you can do anything to just de-stress it, you know, to not feel like a nag, to not put pressure on it, to try and make things feel as comfortable and safe as possible, which I know is kind of a tall ask just from the way that you're feeling.
That's all we got, man.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate your advice and your feedback, and you know, especially the additional information of knowing that it can feel even repulsive to think about it on the medications, because that could be what's going on, because I don't think she's going to be open to experimenting, and I don't bring it up. I don't want to try to not upset her. I'm just not even talking about it. We're just kind of acting like it doesn't exist, but you know, I think she's even afraid to like make out or cuddle because she's worried that I would interpret it the wrong way and you know, want to have sex, and then she has to, you know, shut it down. So, yeah, thank you. I'll if you guys want, I can call back in a week or two if there's any kind of another update.
Yeah, let us know as things change, or feel free to shoot us an email. And yeah, in the meantime, I guess enjoy the start of baseball season.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, that can be a serious issue between couples. But I think knowing whether it's temporary or permanent can make a difference on how you approach the whole situation.
Yeah, there's truth to that, but then there's also recognizing that no relationship dynamic is ever really permanent, and we're all just kind of surfing the waves as they come, you know, and or don't. And, you know, if that leads to a breakup because there's a mismatch or a lack of interest in shared needs or whatever, that's part of it. You know, doesn't mean anybody's the bad guy. Yeah. You know, we're talking about films and media and all of these different things, and there's very rarely a TV breakup where there's not a bad guy. Right. You know, so reminding ourselves that it's totally okay to just not be right for each other, and it's unfortunate when it happens, but it happens all the time. It's part of life, so it's okay.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.